Isaiah 7 1-25. King Ahaz ruled Judah, southern kingdom. A message for King Ahaz. When King Ahaz, the son of Jotham and grandson of Uzziah, ruled Judah, war broke out. Rezin, king of Syria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, attacked Jerusalem, but were unable to capture it. When word reached the king of Judah that the armies of Syria were already in the territory of Israel, he and all his people were so terrified that they trembled like trees shaking in the wind. The Lord said to Isaiah, Take your son Shear-Jashub and go to meet King Ahaz. You will find him on the road where the cloth maker worked, at the end of the ditch that brings water from the upper pool. Tell him to keep alert, to stay calm, and not to be frightened or disturbed. The anger of King Rezin and his Syrians and of King Pekah is no more dangerous than the smoke from two smoldering sticks of wood. Syria, together with Israel and its king, has made a plot. They intend to invade Judah, terrify the people into joining their side, and then put Tabaal's sons on the throne. But I, the Lord, describe that this will never happen. Why? Because Syria is no stronger than Damascus, its capital city, and Damascus is no stronger than King Rezin. As for Israel, within 65 years it will be too shattered to survive as a nation. Israel is no stronger than Samaria, its capital city, and Samaria is no stronger than King Pekah. If your faith is not enduring, you will not endure. The sign of Emmanuel. The Lord sent another messenger to Ahaz. Ask the Lord your God to give you a sign. It can be from deep in the world of the dead or from high up in heaven. Ahaz answered, I will not ask for a sign. I refuse to put the Lord to the test. To that Isaiah replied, Listen now, descendant of King David. It's bad enough for you to wear out the patience of the people. Do you have to wear out God's patience too? Well then, the Lord himself will give you a sign. A young woman who is pregnant will have a son and will name him Emmanuel. By the time he is old enough to make his own decisions, people will be drinking milk and eating honey. Even before that time comes, the lands of those two kings who terrify you will be deserted. The Lord is going to bring on you, on your people, and on the whole royal family days of trouble worse than any that have come since the kingdom of Israel separated from Judah. He is not going to bring the king of Assyria. When that time comes, the Lord will whistle as a signal for the Egyptians to come like flies from the farthest branches of the Nile, and for the Assyrians to come from their land like bees. They will swarm in the rugged valleys and in the caves in the rock. They will cover every thorn bush and every pasture. When that time comes, the Lord will hire a barber from across the Euphrates, the emperor of Assyria, and he will shave off your heads and the hair on your heads and your bodies. When that time comes, even if a farmer has been able to give only one young cow and 2 goats, they will give so much milk that he will have all he needs. Yes, the few survivors left in the land will have milk and honey to eat. When that time comes, the fine vineyards, each with 1,000 vines and each worth 1,000 pieces of silver, will be overgrown with thorn bushes and briars. The people will go hunting there with bows and arrows. Yes, the whole country will be full of briars and thorn bushes. All the hills where crops were once planted will be so overgrown with thorn that no one will go there. It will be a place where cattle and sheep graze. So take this Isaiah's son and go and meet the king. Tell him to keep calm, not to be frightened or disturbed, that the kings, like the countries, are not greater than the king. And he tell them their plan, which is to invade Judah and then put Tabitha's son on the throne. But God said that will never happen because pretty much God is stronger than the kings. And that his kind of like a warning that if the king's faith is not enduring, then the king will not endure. The Lord promised that the plans of the two kings, the king of Judah and the king of Syria, I believe. King of Judah and the king of Syria will not come to pass. That the warning is that if King Ahaz faith does not endure, he will not endure. Verse 14. And that is the sign of Christ's birth. And it's interesting that that by the time that he is old enough to make his own decision, people will be drinking milk and eating honey. I think that came to pass because, when Jesus was born, and by the time that he is 12, in the Bible it sounded like, like community were getting along just fine. And then the two kings who terrify you will be deserted. So the Syrian army and the other two kings, I haven't checked this, but I'm sure that it came to pass too. So that is the sign of the virgin birth. I think Ahaz failed to trust in God because his faith is not enduring. His faith is a shallow faith. And the consequences are that the Assyrian army will come and and swarm in the rugged valleys and the caves and the rock. So it's the Assyrian invasion. And I guess that will cause like places to be deserted. Amen.